Hello, my name's Barry Bassnett, and today we're in the Photogrammetry Raw. We've got a guest interviewer, and I think you're going to be really impressed with what they do in the field of what I call Immersive GIS. How do we take 360 imagery and how do we share it with the masses? And that's what we're going to be talking about with Anthony. So Anthony, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about where you're from and who you work for? That'd be great.
Yes, of course. So, I've got a very diverse background to start with. I mean, without getting into too much detail of all of it, I served in the military years ago, doing GIS in the U.S. military and the Army. That was when I was first introduced to GIS. I got exposed to what nowadays we refer to as reality capture technology, such as LiDAR and everything, all the way back in 2004. And I've been doing a lot of work with it ever since. After the military, I worked for defense systems, doing consulting and software development, which led us to develop a variety of tools that were geared towards things like asset management and site inspections, and basically everything focused on gathering real-time intel as rapidly as possible. And all of that basically led us to 360 imagery and 360 video, and that sort of thing, because it's a really good technology for capturing the environment, what everything looks like, a very cheap and easy way to accomplish that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, so Nodeology, when did you start and what was the inspiration for it then?
So we started in Nodeology was started in 2021, and really it started with just based on looking at the market and the huge gap in the market in terms of capturing and presenting this 360 imagery and video within a GIS environment. There's a lot of that exists, outside of GIS technology. They're doing it in real estate and various other markets, but there wasn't really a good solution that took 360 imagery and 360 video and that sort of thing, and integrated it in a geospatial environment in a way that people could see, both the spatial component and the 360 component put together.
We share a sort of similar journey in terms of trying to make 360 is an obvious quick way of gathering data, but it's about how you share that outside of a complex environment, so anyone can view it. So you came up with this idea. But now you have your product, and I've seen it and played with it. And I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me a quick overview of what your software does, and how view it in Esri? Some of the key features it's got. What were you trying to do with it?
Sure, of course. So I'm gonna share my screen here, and the first thing we're going to look at here, we've got a few different products that we use for this, and I'm mainly going to focus on the visual components of it. So the first thing we're looking at, and I think we're really gonna get a good picture of what the value is in this sort of thing. In this particular use case, we have our Vigio widget for ArcGIS Experience Builder, and we were in this con demonstrating power line inspections. And this is the sort of thing where you don't necessarily need, you're not going to necessarily need high accuracy LiDAR information. And even beyond the need for that sort of data is very costly to collect and process. So this really is a good example of the type of market that we're looking to that we're looking to provide them a better solution. And if you look here, you can see we're able to quickly drive to an example of a tree laying on the power line. Now, a solution like LiDAR is going to be absolutely overkill for being able to evaluate just the presence of this tree laying on the lines. But with 360 imagery, it makes it easy to drive directly to this location, see what's going on, and of course, with all the existing built-in tooling, it's fairly trivial, fairly easy to go in and drop a point on the map to indicate that's where that's where that particular thing is. In this case, you could collect this sort of information with anything from a small off-the-shelf, commercial grade or just consumer grade camera like a GoPro, all the way up to a very high-end camera like Mosaic is putting out. And we have examples of both. In this particular case, I believe this is like a mid-grade consumer, sort of prosumer level camera, which is the Insta360 Pro 2.
Yeah.
So you can see with this sort of thing, we could very easily drive along the roadway and look at a wide variety of different things we're looking at here.
But I'm
we're
guessing
interested
you could
in.
equally, put it on a 360 in a backpack or on a terrain vehicle or a bike, and do the same in cities or down country paths. Or it's just a really simple way of that anyone can get access to this. Yes.
Yeah. If you wanted if you map your favorite trail, that's a very good use case for it. You could put it on, like you said, put it on a backpack, walk down your favorite trail, and map that data. And of course, along with the video, there's also the photo side of things. I mentioned the Mosaic camera. The last one we were looking at was sort of a mid-grade camera. In this case, this is a great example of using 360 imagery for emergency management purposes. So if we look at this data right here, this is post Hurricane Ian stuff, and this data was collected by SiteTour 360, which is a data collection provider that we partner with. And I think this is an amazing example of the value here, where you see this structure here. If we want to go through and use 360 imagery for rapid analysis, it's very easy to see what's going on here, the damage and destruction. Looking at different features on the map, we could look at this structure over here. You could see in this updated imagery, we're able to see the destruction. But when this first happened, you wouldn't have this satellite imagery to look at. So having that 360 imagery that could be captured rapidly is extremely valuable.
I mean, this is one of the great things. I think we get a bit obsessed with XYZ and how many million points we can scan with LiDAR, when essentially emergency services, insurance companies, government, respite, first responders, they just need to see what's there. And this is a great way of doing it. But I've played with this one. It's just astonishing how many images and the depth and the space that you've got, and it's all available just with a web link.
Yeah, that's I mean, when you look at this, like the data that's here in this just in this map, um, there's a whole lot of data here. There's a whole lot of stuff that you could go through, and you could go through it very quickly. And I think from the 360 side, one of the important factors to consider here is how rapidly this could be collected and put online. And that's something I did a little experiment with both video and imagery. And I was able to do for a local property near, not too distant for me, I was able to go and map a trail network, including walking, taking about an hour to walk the different parts of the trail network. I probably started at about 5:30, finished walking the trail at 6:30, and had an application similar to this online by 9:30 that evening. And when you're looking at these types of situations, I think that's a really important factor to be able to get out there and capture imagery. Whether it's destruction from a hurricane or anything, it's a whole lot more efficient and cost effective to be able to take, whether it's one or 20 360 cameras, and get them out there, get them, collecting data and bring it back in. You could do that a lot cheaper and a lot quicker than you'd be able to with trying to collect LiDAR data and process LiDAR.
I think the interest that's absolutely valid. I think the other interesting point about that, if you don't mind me saying, is it also lends itself to doing things more rapid, more quickly, or more often. I was thinking about a case where we're looking at some environmental pollution. We have an issue with river pollution, but the ability to just do one a day or one a week, or monitor a path or something in 360 as a visual representation is a really quick way of dealing with things. So it's I think the speed of the stuff and the ease of deployment has to be a major benefit for people, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point, and Barry, because I've worked on the other end of things. I've worked with the LiDAR data, with the LiDAR equipment. And when, in this case, we were dealing with a piece of LiDAR equipment that's in the neighborhood of $500,000.
With the IMU and scanning the camera.
And the thing to
stuff,
consider with that is that $500,000, yes. And it's just, you can only, if you look at whether you're an environmental firm or an engineering firm, you can only put so much of that out in the field at a given time, which really drives up the cost of just operating that piece of equipment. So you're going to be limited into how frequently you could deploy it, and the cost for whatever projects you're looking at is going to be driven up as well. And that all factors into your timeline. So you obviously can't deploy those solutions as frequently because the logistics and cost of it, it's just not there. But this sort of solution, it's so easy to get this out there, so cost effective to be able to strap a camera, either just suction cup on top of the vehicle.
I'm driving how fast you dare,
yeah. And I think we've got a little bit of a different perspective on some of these lower end cameras like the GoPro and things like that. And you're going to get much better imagery with something like the Mosaic camera. Those cameras are fantastic.
Courses, isn't it? It's a bit like, if I need data and I'm going to do some design work or things, then LiDAR is what I'm going to deploy. But I just want to see what's there. If I just want to monitor my assets, if I just want to do that and I want to do it quickly, you've got a choice of 360 cameras with all sorts of different ways of dealing with it. So
and if I'm looking at one of those lower end cameras, the consumer grade cameras, if I need to get out, we'll say on a bicycle or motorcycle or even a car, let's say worst case scenario, I need to suction cup one of those cameras on top of my car in a heavy storm, maybe a windstorm. I'm not going to get upset if a $400 camera gets blown off my vehicle. So even in the worst case scenario, it's still, you know, a more viable option. It's you know, a reasonable option even in the worst of the conditions.
I think the 360 camera market is just, it's really exciting. I've been working in 360 for a long time.
Yeah.
The issue really is what do you want to use it for? I think is, you know, if you're doing lots of data, you don't have to stop every 5 minutes because your SD card's filling up, or you know, you don't have to. You're gonna have to walk. Have to do it in hot conditions. Where some of the systems are not really designed for that. You know, the prosumer device is great, but sometimes you're going to have to go up to something like a Mosaic or a Titan or one of the other more ruggedized cameras which are designed for 24/7 use, I think. But the point, I think the point you're making is you can do this with just a basic 360, and you don't need to have all singing, all dancing, HDR, all sorts of things. And you can also use it. I'm just interested as well in your view about 360 video as opposed to 360 static imagery. Do you have a view on that, or is it come down to application and what you need it to do?
Yeah, I think it does come down to application. We've seen a little bit of both. We've seen cases where, you know, where I think that, generally if you need higher resolution, you know, extremely high resolution, you're going to do a little bit better with imagery than you are with video. But, you know, in cases where you need, you know, you need to rapidly go through areas and visualize something, then, then video is often an option. Now, what's interesting is I don't feel like the two are necessarily mutually exclusive.
100% agree, yeah.
And what I mean by that is, it's perfectly reasonable to operate both on the, you know, even on the same vehicle. We've done it different cases where we mounted one camera on top of another camera and rolled with both of those and had one collecting video and one collecting still imagery. We also have in our geoprocessing tool set for ArcGIS, we have functionality that will take a video and extract the 360 video frames out of the video at a given interval. So you could say, take this video and extract photos every, 50 meters or whatever use case is suitable for you. And that sort of thing could be very useful if you just driving around with your video on, maybe you get stopped at a stoplight for a little while and things like that. But we've definitely found, overlap where both solutions have their applications. So yeah, it really is a case by case.
So what we said is lots of applications, rapid deployment. It's fairly straightforward data collection. We don't need to have a degree in land surveying or be a registered surveyor or anything. We can put this in the hands of first responders or trained individuals and how to use it. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you're using, say, ArcGIS Experience Builder and other things to do that. So if somebody wants to do this, what do they need to do? What sort of licenses do they need to get from Esri, ArcGIS? What's the workflow from, I've got my images, what do I do next?
So generally, if for somebody producing the data, what they're going to need at minimum an ArcGIS Online account and ArcGIS Pro, and given ArcGIS Pro to process the imagery and publish it up to their ArcGIS Online, and then if you're using ArcGIS Online, they would also need an ArcGIS like an Experience Builder Developer Edition to be able to configure the apps and publish them up. If they're using ArcGIS Enterprise, then they could just add it, right into to ArcGIS Enterprise and work with it from there. But generally, we try to keep things very lightweight in terms of what licenses are required. From our end, it just make things really simple and easy to get into. And I think you really illustrated a good point with the ease of use side of things, because from a usability perspective, I think a big advantage of using 360 imagery is you don't necessarily need to be highly GIS literate, highly geospatial data literate to get in here. And traditionally you had the GIS market has been very heavily focused on the GIS users, but we're trying to push the boundaries of that and make this sort of thing more readily available to people outside of your, hardcore GIS analyst and LiDAR folks. Because if you look at 360 imagery, if you look at the data here, it's easy enough for someone to understand what's going on here, even if they don't necessarily have a background in GIS. People are familiar with Google Street View and other technology like that enough that they could look at this and they could say, okay, well, here's some destruction, here's, something I'm seeing here.
It's a priority repair or whatever. A zillion different things. There are lots of different people. I think that's why I coined this term immersive GIS. It's not just immersive in terms of the experience, but it's immersive because it opens up the whole GIS market to non-GIS pilots. Because GIS has been its own own problem. It's built its own silos of information which sometimes are difficult to access. And it's great to have a 2D map or a satellite image or all this fabulous data, but an awful lot of it is just people just want to see what's there. And I think this is why I'm so excited about this technology, is because we're bridging the gap and we're breaking the silo of ArcGIS outside. So and most of the users, I'm guessing, most councils, town councils, counties, city councils, authorities, transportation people, most of them have an ArcGIS license or pro license. But what we're saying here is we can make this web enabled so anybody can view the data themselves.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, anyone from first responders, we talked to, in this particular case, you've got insurance companies that could potentially be looking at this data for the insurance claims. I mean, there's so many different potential users for this that goes well beyond.
And are looking at put this into a quotation and say, no, this is what you've got to deal with, and so you can extend the number of people who can bid for work and lower the cost, and there's just a whole series of advantages. It's a no-brainer for me. I don't see why everyone isn't doing it right, as standard. But anyway, that's great. So we've got. Is there any? You've tried to make this simple. So can you describe the products that you do and how they work and how they fit in with the ArcGIS platform? And
so everything that we're doing is sort of focused all around this same concept of the rapid data collection and providing this intel to users. So these tools specifically, we're building for ArcGIS Experience Builder, and what we try to do on our end is build them for these platforms that are modular. So when you look at when we look at our video widget here, we've got a few different things going on. We've got the list widget here that's showing some of the information. We have some filtering down here where we could see different types of videos, and some of this actually goes beyond 360 videos where, here we have some, traditional just road surface videos that
Okay.
we're visualizing here. But everything in here is designed to be modular. I think too many solutions, they sort of impose a certain way of doing things on people, and we try to develop these things with it in mind that people are going to be using them for
Yeah, of
different
course. Yeah.
purposes. Emergency responders and people are going to be building um, their applications differently based on their context. So that's, we try to
Yeah,
embrace
and
that model.
I think it's really interesting. Looking at that particular picture you've got on the screen now, I'm doing a lot of work right
Mm-hmm.
now in AI, looking at automatic detection of
Mm-hmm.
problems, potholes, cracks, and things like that. But of course, what you've got here is the ability to do even the basic stuff and just say to a subcontractor or the guy going out to fit the pothole, here you go, this is where it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like around. Oh, I've got a 360 image, so I can see where I'm going to park or lay the materials. Or it's just having a familiarization with the site as much as anything else. I mean, that can save you hours and hours of time.
Yes. I'm glad you brought up the AI side of things, and the reason why is because everybody has this, misunderstanding of, or a lot of people have sort of a misperception of AI right now, and this is coming from both ends. From the technology side, in many cases, it's being sold as a magic bullet to solve all your problems. But then when people really get into it, what they're finding is that it's not perfect, and it's not the fault of any
No,
one organization that's putting out these technologies. But the very nature of AI is that
it's a
it's
full.
not a
It's
it's not
false
yeah
positives and
it's
all
not a
those other things, and that destroys the confidence.
yes
But you are right. I mean, we're going through a
yes
learning curve. We're going through AI for AI. I think.
yes, and that makes this sort of thing a perfect solution to
Yeah,
match
yeah.
up with AI. So if you're whether you're looking at something like this for evaluating damage, and you're applying AI to that, or you're looking at road conditions, somebody is going to need to look
At
at
some
that
point,
data.
yeah, yeah.
And if you take AI on its own, it's going to be insufficient. But when you apply the ability to view the actual situation, the actual conditions, along with the AI, then you could apply the AI to highlight the defects in the road, to highlight the cracks, or capture the infrastructure, the signs, and different things like that. And then you're able to visualize it and put those things together. Then you've got something of value because you're able to validate what the
Yeah, yeah,
AI
yeah.
is
I can
telling
see
you.
that exactly. I mean, one of the things I've found when I've been using 360 is just the number of different subject matter experts you can bring into the same feature, and you can all collaborate with it. Without it saves hours and hours of time. But yeah, we're going through a learning curve with this. Some I call you're going to need some sanity inspection from the subject matter experts, the guys who know how much it's going to cost to fix that crack, or is this a priority, or will it wait for a while. But there's a but what this tool does is it allows people to actually be there from what I call it, be there from anywhere, uh, and to collaborate and then contribute, whether they're using AI or they're just using plain old common sense. I think it's a
Yes.
really interesting tool. Well, it's not just interesting. I think I hate the word game changer, but this sort of technology and the link to existing Esri or ArcGIS, users, it'll get them out of the house as well. They must love this because so
Yeah.
much of the queries and the stuff are very esoteric. Here you go. No, this is what it looks like, guys. It's
Mhm.
just the applications. Where do you see the you've mentioned power lines and utilities and emergency response.
Yeah.
Have you got any other interesting applications which are slightly left of field that you think, that have come in? I'm sure I might get them every week. Somebody's comes up with some wacky idea and you go, wow, that's obvious. But,
yeah, we've had people talk about a lot of different things, from looking at environmental data and different things like that. But I think one of the things that sort of popped out to me while you were talking just now was when you said about that it puts you there, it puts you on site, so it basically lets you visit virtually and look at this from afar. And one of the common situations I've seen working within and with engineering firms specifically is that they have a lot of cases where they have somebody go out into the field and maybe try to capture the conditions. A common one is for inspection purposes. They come back to the office and then they find that they missed something. They didn't take a picture of something that they were supposed to. In a lot of cases, they're capturing things with a point and shoot camera. If you do something as simple as strap a 360 on your back, even if that's not your primary purpose for being out there, strap that camera on, turn it on, and go about your business. Because then if you come back to the office, and in engineering, you might be 2 hours, 4 hours away from the project site.
At least, yeah.
If you have to go back, that's time.
Yeah, and I do a lot
and effort.
Yeah.
But quite often,
I do a lot of.
Quite often, what you'll find is that you could go look at that 360 imagery and you say, actually, I did capture that because I have this 360 imagery.
No, I find that, a lot of, probably 50% of my work is in structural inspection stuff. And the beauty of using 360 imagery is I get 100% coverage of the surface. But also, you get places like railway or highways or aircraft, airports and stuff where you can't get access at certain times. So it's not just about revisiting, it's actually trying to get access in the middle of the night or at some shutdown. So it's, a cost of a camera is negligible to the cost of driving 6 or 7 hours up to a railway tunnel and the back and beyond. No, it just makes absolute sense. I think it's a really interesting point that with this, you can use both. You can use your high definition capture survey techniques, but also you've got this ability to do QA and at least go make a guess if you're like, oh no, well, we can see that. That's a bit we should have got. And I think that's a really useful idea. Yeah, I know. Just the big application I'm currently using it for is disability access mapping, where we're using it to map routes for wheelchairs and people who have mobility issues. And this is just huge because there's lots of stuff about disability access to public buildings and railway stations and things, but not between those venues, and that's just as important for people. So for me, it's just for that one application, this is saving it's just huge. Where do you see I'm going to wrap up shortly because I think it's really interesting. But I'm just curious to know what you think the next stages are going to be. Do you have a view for this? Because obviously, you're opening up this ArcGIS community and everybody uses GIS. But do you have any? What are your plans? Do you see another product? Do you see other things coming through? Where do you think you're going to be in 2 years' time with this technology? Where do you hope you're going to be?
So before we get into that, I do want to quickly touch on the disability access thing, because I think that's a really important market to focus on, because I wasn't even really aware of this before getting into that. But, one of the things that I learned is that some things are labeled as, accessible, but accessible means different things to different people. So somebody might look at this and say it says accessible, but maybe that's deep sand or it's gravel or something that might make it difficult for people. It might be accessible for a wheelchair, but maybe not somebody with a cane or vice versa.
That just sorry to interrupt.
So that's a very
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but I
Yeah.
think that you've dropped on a really important thing, is that most people think of disability access as a wheelchair unit, but we've got the growing elderly community, and their
Mhm.
mobility is at different levels. So you're absolutely right. Having physical evidence of, is this gravel, is this sand, or whatever it might be. I'm not going to get that from Google Street Maps or and stuff. I need, because I need to go in between things on college campuses or places where there's no vehicle access. I think this is one of the real
Mhm.
benefits of it. But no, I think that's one that stood out to me, and I'm using it currently with my business in Rich Picks at the moment. That's one of the biggest projects I'm working on. But I can see just such a lot. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. But going back to where you were going with this and where you think.
Yeah. So we're some of the things we're focused on are, one of our things we're looking towards in the future is to, um, we're looking to employ AI and other technologies to help improve the geolocation and precision of the 360
Okay.
imagery itself, um, based on the contents of the imagery and the relation between images. So that's something we're looking towards in the future. Really, a lot of what we're trying to do is sort of expand what it means, um, you know, for that market, for somebody to be able to enter that market. We're trying to lower that bar and make it easier and easier and easier to get into that market, or to get into this technology, regardless of what you're working with. So we're sort of we're advancing on the top end by adding features and functionality within the tools to make, everything from automated
Yeah.
feature identification with AI, to pushing down the bottom, because like we've been talking about throughout the whole thing, um, expanding beyond the core market and beyond what people traditionally think of as the GIS market, and people that would use this technology is a heavy
Okay,
focus of
that's
ours.
really, really interesting. I know I look at it and go, the more people who we can open up, the more this is going to become a ubiquitous type of sharing information. The people expect it. No, and I think that's the interesting
Absolutely.
thing. Listen. Probably a good point to wrap up. But thank you so much, Anthony, for your time. It's a great product. Really interesting talking to you. I'll put some links at the end of the video so people can get in touch and find out more about you, if that's okay. If you don't mind being nagged by people, I'm sure you won't mind. But listen, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. Good luck with this. I'm a convert and more than happy to share some of the data I've been using with it as well. So, thank you very much, Anthony, and we'll see you soon. But I'll put the links on the end, and so people can get in touch. Okay,
All right. Very good. Thank you, Barry. It
no
was good
problem. All
speaking
right,
with
you
you.
take care.